Hey there guys, we're going to be going back to Cybernetic Dragon Osta, and we're going to be doing another rank 1 clear. This time we're still not using Lightning or Ellesperis, but we have also dropped Lilith from the clear. That was the most requested unit last time. What if I don't have Lilith? So we're going to drop Lilith, and we're going to do a relatively quick clear. That being said, this is not a budget run by any means. The damage is very, very tight doing it this way because we're going for kind of a quick clear so we can skip zombie, which means you need very powerful damage to do this if you're not using lightning. If you do have lightning, this clear is probably a lot easier to do because, you know, good leader skill and all that. But in any case, we're going to make this work. So let me explain stuff as we go. Turn chart will be in the comments. And because we're not dealing with zombie, there's no RNG. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off with Elena. Elena is going to, not yet actually, we're going to use Malphase. Malphase is going to quad cast. Then we're going to do Strong Headwinds. This gives us a Wind Absorb this turn. Then we're going to triple cast a Roja. So we're going to do this, we're going to let it go for just a second, and then we're going to retarget the party. And we're going to nuke our own party with wind damage, and because we're dealing elemental damage, we're taking billions of healing. We are back at full health, not having to worry about stupid Lilith. Okay, so there we go. So we're back at full health. So let's continue. Now Ibarra is going to do, in the base form, a Noon for the Imperil, Wish for the buffing, and then Darka to imbue the party. Then we're going to use 2B to do Machine Killer and then Avoid. And because we just imbued the party, now we're dealing elemental damage to the boss. Richt is going to do his breaks and then Radiant to dispel the boss. Elena on turn 1, which is relatively painful. We're going to do Omni Cover. We're going to do Crystal Echo for her field, and we're going to do Shelga. Notice this time we are starting Elena in the base form for the auto cover. So we're auto covering, which is going to be important for later. And then Melissa is going to do Shared Immunity, Chronic Flow, and Parasol Shield for the racial mitigation. So as you can see, we did fill a lot of morale gauge this turn. We're almost capped out on the first turn. If your morale gauge is not as high, it is totally fine. The reason it's so high is we're using a high EX level team, EX 18. But it doesn't really matter. We're going to fill it very easily by the time it's time to actually burst. So now we're going to do, with Melissa, ramping 100 Dark Amplify. We're going to Dragon Killer on Richt, and we're going to do Minutes of Might. Now, Malphase in the base form will just spend the next few turns singing Zidane's STMR for the bigger LB damage buff. Ibarra is now going to go to the shift form. And we're going to triple Bolting Strike. Do not use the cooldown, just regular Bolting Strike. Elena is going to do her LB. Richt will do Extreme Nova Frames to match Elena. And we're going to do just triple Machine Killer with 2B. And if your morale gauge is high enough, you can use the Attack and Magic buff. If not, it's okay. We do have Minutes of Might. And this is not really a damage turn regardless. Anyway, so here we go. So we're setting up to do a burst on turn 5 because there's a zombie on turn 5, and by pushing the threshold on turn 5, we can skip that zombie, which is very nice. Okay, so turn 3, we're going to start doing a little bit more damage. We're going to start getting set up for that burst on turn 5. So wait for the auto casting to finish. I don't want to bug the morale bar. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the attack and magic buff. Now we're going to do the shifted LB of Richt. We're going to have Elena do double Bolting Strike, and then we're going to use cover to replace that auto cover. We're going to do the base form LB of Ibarra. We're going to shift form LB of 2B, and we're going to use Melissa, and we're going to target Elena with this. Actually, let me think about this. You know, we don't even need to target Elena. Who's a better target for this? No one really, huh? Well, we'll target Elena anyway. Doesn't really matter. We'll keep it going. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and chain this up. And the chain might break. It did break because we're using Extreme Nova without anyone matching it. it's fine. The real damage is coming turn 4 and turn 5. So if the chain breaks, no big deal, whatever. So here's some damage right here, no big deal. Now turn 4 is going to be a pretty painful turn. And if you're using Abigail, turn 4 is no big deal, you don't care. But we're using Elena. It's going to hurt a lot. So in order to survive, we're going to just guard Elena. Technically, you don't have to, but I want to be safe. The boss also has this attack and magic buff, which is not being auto-dispelled anymore. So Richt will just normal attack and dispel it that way. His normal attack is the perfect dispel. It does waste his turn. It doesn't really matter. We're fine. So now, Ibarra will go to the shift form. And we're going to do double bolting and her 150 Magnus. 2B will go to the base form. And we're going to do triple R40. To get ready for bursting for real next turn. We can go ahead and do the attack and magic buff. And then Melissa is now going to do all-consuming to stop the boss's healing on threshold. We're going to refresh the Dragon Killer on Richt. And we're going to do, doesn't matter, Bar Darkja, whatever. Okay, and go ahead and chain this up a little bit for a little bit more damage. But the big damage is coming next turn. Okay, so here we go. So here's a really painful turn on Elena, but if she's guarding, you should be fine here. Yeah, as you see, wow, a lot of damage that turn. But because she's guarding, she was fine. And as you see, if she wasn't guarding, she's below half health, she'd have been dead. But we're good. We're good. Okay, so now we're going to push the threshold on turn 5. Turn 5 is a zombie turn. By pushing the threshold, we skip one of the zombies. So we're going to do some buffing right here. Let's do some big defensive spirit buff. As you'll notice, Malphasy is now done singing. So we're going to shift her to the shifted form and do the shifted LB. 2B, base form LB. Ibarra, shifted LB. Elena, go to the shift form for more damage. Shifted LB. And base form LB of Richt. So this should be our damage cap. It should also be the threshold. Although we're going to be doing more damage later in the fight regardless. And there we go. We heavily overpushed that threshold. So now, after all of that, we're going to save Melissa for last. We got to speed through the second phase. So we're going to go ahead and start filling some LB gauge. We're going to double Bar Darkja to fill LB gauge. And we're going to use Kurega to top up our Elena. While she's in the shift form, it'll be easy to top her off with just one cast from Melissa. There we go. 3.2 billion damage, but the real damage comes in this phase. So we got completely dispelled here, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and do all the rebuffing. So what we're going to do, now we're going to swap to the wind element because now we're going to use Malphasy's field to get more damage and her 100 amplify. So we're going to field with Malphasy. We're going to skilled scavengers for the mod buff. We're going to strong tailwinds to do a ramping wind amplify. And then we're going to do her 150 amp with fleet winged flyers. Now, the boss does have all these threshold buffs, etc. So to deal with that, we're going to use Richt in the shift form. Richt is going to Leading Legend for the big weapon in perils, Moment of Weakness to get rid of the boss's buffs, and then Radiant Protection to break the boss, dispel the boss, and do a Wind Imperil that Malphasy didn't have time to do. Melissa is now going to rebuff off. We got completely dispelled. So we're going to go ahead and do shared immunity. We're going to Parasol again. And we're going to do Dragon Killer on Richt. Right there. There we go. Now, Elena, go back to the base form. You know, we got dispelled, we got a cover, etc. This turn is only a weak hybrid attack. Not really much damage. We don't need mitigations and all, big mitigations. So we're going to just do regular cover. We're going to Shelga, and that's all the mit we should need. And then we're going to do, I'm doing it actually wrong. We're going to Bolting Strike. Then we're going to Shelga and cover. Okay, and now Ibarra in the shift form is going to do double focus and then her cooldown. I'm sorry, double bolting and her cooldown. And then 2B in the shift form is going to do Machine Killer. Then we're going to do Mirage and then her Magnus to refill her LB gauge because we got to start bursting like soon. So here we go. And we're going to do this and chain this up. This is going to be a very small damage turn. We're not doing barely any chain. It's like basically all set up, which is fine. We're going to be doing the big bursting in the next 2 turns. So here we go. Some attacks. This is a very low damage turn. No big deal. The boss does buff his resistances, but thankfully Rick will auto-dispel them for us, no big deal. And now we're going to get into the bursting. We're going to start bursting hard as we can because we want to kill the boss by turn 8 for that first zombie to never have to deal with that irritation. So Rick to the base form is going to base form LB. Elena is going to base form LB as well because we need mitigation. This turn is going to be another very, very painful turn. Elena very likely may even die. If she does, it doesn't matter. She's going to re-raise. So Ibarra to the base form for her base form LB. 2B to the shift form for the mod buff. And then Malphase shifted LB. Let's go ahead and do all the buffs up here. So this, we can do resistances. We can do this right here. We don't need healing. So we're going to now have Melissa. We're going to do Dragon Killer on Rick. And then we're going to do double Bar Darkja, but don't do it yet, though. Okay, so we're going to click Melissa and then immediately chain the rest of the people. That way we get the killer on Rick, and then we have the Bar Darkja refilling the LB gauges. So here we go. And I was a little bit slow about that, so I probably didn't get the first cast of Bar Darkja. Sad face. That's fine, though. And here we go. Nice chunk of damage, 35%. So we need to do 35% again next turn. 3.5 billion. Here comes some damage on Elena. Hopefully she survives. If she doesn't, she'll re-raise. It doesn't matter. She did survive, which is fine. If she didn't, the last hit would have killed her. She would have re-raised. Would have been not a problem at all. Okay, so here we go. So now we're going to... Now, okay, so if your Elena had died and re-raised, she would not counter at all, meaning you would have a lot less LB gauge. I'm going to proceed as if she had died. So if she does die, we're going to do triple Bar Blizaja to fill the LB gauge of the party. There we go. Now, Melissa on this turn will do... We're going to do seconds of support on 2B for the big modifier buff, and she double dips on that. We're going to do bigger Dragon Killer on 2B, and we're going to do a Bar Darkja just to fill more LB gauge, again, in case someone is not filled. Then, again, we burst again. That's really all there is to it. Now, this turn, we do have the 100 Amplify from Malphase. We're also going to do all our good setup stuff. So we're going to do the base form LB of Rick, the shifted LB of Ibarra, the LB of Malphase, and now the base form LB of 2B. And that should be the end of the boss. So here we go. This should be an even bigger burst than the previous turn. And a bunch of caps, and boom, once you finish the hit at the end, there it is. There's a turn 8 clear, rank 1. And the damage, we did 4 billion damage. There you go. The next burst is bigger than the previous one. So definitely a more of a high-end clear. You definitely need powerful DPS to pull that off. We literally did the second phase in 2 different bursts back-to-back. And there's a perfect score. As I mentioned, the final morale value is bugged. Everyone's getting to 0. Don't worry about that. And here is the damage breakdown. So Ibarra and Rick, very good damage here, not to mention 2B. Malphase was doing a lot of support stuff. Don't judge her too harshly. Phase 1, she literally sung Zidane's song the entire time, so she did no damage in Phase 1. But her field and 100 Amplify was a big deal in Phase 2 for getting through it very, very quickly. So there we go. Turn chart will be in the comments. Let's go ahead and browse the gear real quick. And oh, hey, look at this. We are almost done. We don't need that. Let's go ahead and take this. Okay. So, yeah, so there's basically no RNG with this clear because we're not dealing with zombie. No zombie means no randomness. We love it. Anyway, here is the party. Now, real quick before we get into this, as far as unit swaps, honestly speaking, I think Melissa for this specific strategy is probably required just because she fills the morale gauge so quickly, and we're speeding through the fight. As far as the rest of the part, I don't know. Really, this party was custom built, so you can try swapping stuff around, but you know, I didn't plan out swaps, etc. But you could use the same concept with lightning. So if you don't have, if you do have lightning, you could use Malphase, lightning, Nora, Probably Cloud Strife as well as a lightning damage dealer. He does have 150 amplify. He gets the Rebel category. And you could probably do that. You would probably use Abigail to tank, maybe Elena to tank. I don't know. Anyway, this party works. Hopefully you can build it. Here's the gear. So a lot of morale fill on Melissa, Celestite Rod, Treasured Ring, mana reduction so she can spam that Bar Darkja. I gave her passive Provoking Guts. It didn't matter. We miraged all the single target stuff, so who cares? And then, yeah, some morale fill. Malphasy in the base form, honestly, kind of not important. We don't really deal damage in the base form. Just have enough magic to get the party full health on turn 1 when you redirect the attack. Other than that, Zidane's STMR and some auto LB fill so that she can auto-fill the LB by turn 4. Shift form is 16.7 magic. Fist build, here's the setup. And she was maxed on, I believe, everything. And we used that card for the killer. And maxed LB, maxed Reaper, maxed Machine and Dragon. There we go. 2B in both forms, 16.7 yet again. Maxed on everything, and she was our source of Machine Killer for the clear. Also really high damage. Also our source of Mirage, which is really important for the single target stuff. Richt is our primary breaker, our primary dispel unit. Also, he removes the threshold buffs as well. A lot of damage, and then there he is. He was a pretty important part of this strategy. Elena in the base form is geared for tanking. There it is, a lot of bulk, 16.3 magic, HP, full evasion as well, so she can omni cover the hybrid stuff and not take any damage. Resistances don't matter at all. We evade all the elemental stuff. Shift form is damage. Here we go. So 17.2 spirit and much damage as possible. She only shifts on turn 5, but it is important. Ibarra in both forms is 16.9. She is our... Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. Melissa's the dragon killer. Actually, she's not bringing any killers. She's just damage. Damage, a lot of damage. Yeah, a lot of damage. That's really all there is to it. And there it is. There's the clear. Turn chart will be in the comments. I will see you in a few.